Okay, so in this video, I am going to be showing you the Canvas assignments, the larger semester-wide assignments. So I've shared the screen with Canvas. So when you log on, the welcome video is the first module, which will always be there, and so will the syllabus. The second module is going to be the larger class assignment. So the video is here, and that will remain up all semester as well. And then the interview, the research paper, the advocacy letter, and the service learning are all right here. And these are larger assignments. So the research paper in March, 2 in April, and then service learning is due at the very, very end of class, right before we kind of go into a review and the final. So I'm going to start with this one, since this is going to be the first one that is due. So the research paper will be the first assignment that is due. So this one is, you are going to be comparing and contrasting the parenting styles. So I'm going to, in 2 weeks, go over families and parenting styles. So we have 4 parenting styles that we will be covering, and you will be comparing and contrasting. So you will need that course content. The information is also in the textbook, and you are going to follow this instructions right here. So the introduction, like any paper, and once again, this is APA. So the first page will be a title page, the second page will be an abstract page, and then the third page will actually start writing with the introduction. So the introduction is that you will introduce the various types of parenting styles. So there are 4 parenting styles. We'll learn about that in the next couple of weeks, and you will write about them. You can use sources from online. You can use the textbook. You can use other child development and education books as well. So you can use, and you can even source my lectures as well. So those are some of the sources that you can use to talk about the parenting styles. In the body, you guys are going to discuss the similarities and the differences in the parenting styles and some of the outcomes identified in the research with each parenting style. So out of the 4, some of them are associated with better outcomes and some of them are not. So you're going to discuss how the parenting styles are the same or different, and then you are also going to identify some research, either from the textbook, from my lectures, or from online sources, once again, about each parenting style and some of the outcomes that we might have with the children. And then your conclusion is going to be that you will analyze the parenting styles and how parenting fits within the theory proposed by Urie Bronfenbrenner. So in this week's lecture, I'm going to do a short little lecture about who Bronfenbrenner was. He's our chief theorist we'll be learning about in this class, and also his ecological theory. So parenting fits into one of his systems in his theory. You guys are going to identify which one and say why. So once again, you might use the textbook as a source, my lectures as a source, and online sources, and or any other education books. The very last thing is you are going to use APA style, so that's going to be 10 points. So once again, you start with the title page, then you have an abstract, then you start writing on the third page. You take as many pages as you need in order to write, and then the very last page will be your reference page, where you'll list out all the references, the textbook, any journals, newspapers, my lecture, books, articles online, anything like that. If you need help with APA, like in the syllabus, I have the information for the writing centers and the tutoring groups here at Palomar. You can also ask me for some brief help as well with APA, and also in our Child Development Success Guide, which I've linked in the syllabus and is on our Child Development Department website. We have a sample APA paper for you. Also, there's a site called OWL at Purdue, and I will go to it online. And if you search OWL, like and look, it's the first thing that comes up on my page, because I go here all of the time. So I don't know everything about APA. So if you guys ever stump me, a student asked last week about a white paper, which is like a working paper from the government, and I totally forgot how to do that. So I went to OWL. So think of like the hoo-hoo OWL, and then it's at Purdue University. If you go there, there's this information on APA. It will give you a sample. It will give you of what it should look like. You can ask questions. This is a great source for you on APA. So that's the OWL at Purdue. Okay, so that is the research paper. Once again, we're going to get more information on the course content and parenting styles in the next couple of weeks. All right, I'm going to go to the second assignment, which is the interview, and this will be due in April. So once again, it's the end of January. We've got some time, but you are going to need to find somebody who works with children in any professional capacity. This could be an elementary school teacher, high school teacher, guidance counselor, marriage and family therapist, any kind of mental health counselor, somebody who works at WIC with families and children or with food stamps, a social worker, a preschool teacher, a Head Start teacher, a principal, a vice principal, a director, anybody who gets a income from working or gets money and is paid for working with children and families. So it's a very open-ended. Any questions though, you're not really sure, just email me. So this can be somebody that you know in your life. So I've given you some ideas right here, but once again, anybody who works with children and families. Write 10 to 15 very open-ended questions like, can you tell me about a normal day? What's your favorite part about your job? What's your least favorite part? Why are these your least favorite? What's the hardest thing that you've ever had to do? How did you get to this job? What education did you go to? What was your master's degree like? That type of thing. So have 10 to 15 open-ended questions so that you're getting as much information out. In the actual interview, please just kind of, you don't have to be so stuck onto those questions. If they said something really interesting and you want to ask a follow-up question, feel free to add in questions. These are just the starting point for you to be able to interview somebody. So you're going to find somebody who somehow works with children in the community, so they work with children and families. You're going to contact them by email or by phone and ask to have an interview with them, and let them know it should take anywhere between like 25 and 40 minutes. When we have the interview, just make sure that you dress professionally or appropriately, honor their time by being on time, and some more questions that you could ask about. So I said open-ended, you could ask about activities in the classroom, you could ask about how you assess children to know what level they are, what developmental level, how you write curriculum, if they're a principal or a director, what kind of policy making decisions do they make, how do they make changes in their schools. What kind of strategies do they use to engage families? If parents aren't participating a lot, how do they support them? What languages do they speak with families? So in your reflection, so when you're writing what you're going to send to me on Canvas is this very last part. This is where you're going to summarize the answers to the above interview questions. So you're going to tell me what the question was, just generally, and summarize the answers, what they said generally in paragraph form. Then you're going to evaluate the program's strengths in terms of these 4 areas. So how do they communicate? So you might want to ask about what their communication styles is, what their staff's communication styles is, how do they talk to parents, how do they talk to children, how do they talk to coworkers. Then also family engagement strategies, how do they engage with families, get families to participate, families to come in, families to go to therapy, families to get the food stamps that they need. How do they work with and collaborate with families? And then also, we are very fortunate to have lots of languages spoken here in Southern California. So what kind of cultures or language, which is also linguistic responsiveness, do they use in working with families? Because families and children can be very diverse. They can come from lots of different backgrounds. So you might want to ask questions about how do you work with people from different backgrounds? What if somebody doesn't speak the same language as you? What languages do you speak? So questions in these 3 areas will help you answer these. So after you've done the interview, after you've met somebody, contacted them, written out your interview, done the interview, you are going to write out this. It doesn't have to be an APA, it just needs to be in paragraph form, and you are going to submit it to me on Canvas. So that is 2 out of 4 right now. So we have in this video gone over the research paper, we've gone on the interview, and now we're going to do the advocacy letter. So very late in class, we are going to do an advocacy letter. It's going to be in a professional business letter format, which I will show you what that looks like. And you are going to identify and describe a problem that affects children and families in no more than 2 paragraphs. So an example could be traffic around a school district, maybe not having crosswalks or a crossing guard. So you would say why that's a problem, that not having a crossing guard near a school on a busy street is a traffic hazard for people who are driving and also for children and families who are trying to safely go home. Then you could describe the next steps. So you've said why traffic and no crossing guards and crossing walks is a big problem in your community and you're concerned about safety for children. Then what would be a next step or a pragmatic solution? Thinking about maybe petitioning the school district or the city council to put in a crossing walk. Having the school district see if they can get volunteers to be crossing walk guards. And then you're going to identify and address it to a real person. So this could be a school district, a city council member, a mayor, a county supervisor, maybe somebody in the state Congress or state senator, even your the governor, whoever it was. You don't actually have to send it, but you have to find who would be somebody who you would contact if you had a problem. Some people do end up sending these. It's not necessary for it. You are just submitting to me the actual business letter that you would write about a letter that you're concerned about. It could be about safety. It could be concerned about drugs. You could be concerned about gangs, abuse, violence, curriculum, school standards, testing, anything that affects children, you could write your letter about. It's whatever you're passionate and you think is a problem for children and families and something that you want to solve. So that is our advocacy letter, and that is much later in the class, and we're actually going to have a whole class lecture and week on advocacy and working with the community. So that will be the week that you'll be writing your advocacy letter, and I'll show you a business letter at that time. All right, so service learning is the very, very last one, and this one is one that you're really not going to be able to leave towards the end. So I've given you most of the class in order to work on it, but you have to do 15 hours of service learning at an organization. So you can't leave it until the very end. You can't have 2 days and try to get 15 hours in. It just doesn't work like that. So what you're going to do is, we are so fortunate that we have a full-time person working in our service learning department here at Palomar. So we have its very own department. Not just child development and education do service learning. It's a lot of different departments have their students do this. So we are so lucky that we have this whole portal about service learning. So you're going to print out this service learning packet of forms and information, and it includes an agreement form, a liability, a timesheet, and a performance evaluation. So you are going to find somebody that you want to volunteer or do service learning hours with. And we are so lucky that we have the entire, where is it? List of, there we go. So if you hit list of community partners on the left-hand side, it will take you to the page for this, and we have the community partner list for spring 2020, which is right now, and we have it broken down. It's very organized as well. So North County Coastal, Inland, East, South, Metro, and then one-term service opportunities. So wherever you live or wherever you work, whatever is going to be easiest for you, find somebody in this area. So if you were in North County Coastal, we have, you could work for the Lagoon Foundation. And since you're doing this with children and families, you could do arts and crafts, you could do critter care, you could do trail, you could do work with the school program as well. If you wanted to, you could do working with young people. You could do Armed Services YMCA and work with young Marines. You could do the Bataquitas Lagoon Foundation as well, and they have information that you can work with young children. They have a little learning area. You could work there. Boys and Girls Club would be fantastic because that's children. So we have lots and lots of community partners. They know that they're partnered with us. This isn't a cold call, but you'll very politely call or email them and see if they have a spot for you and what you would like to do, because you're going to be working with children and families. If you're working full-time or through the week, or you have an unusual schedule, short-term or one-term service opportunities are going to be your best bet. You could do 2 Saturdays, 4 Saturdays, for to 8 hours at a time in order to knock out these opportunities as well. So if you have an unusual schedule, look for the very last one. If you have more of a traditional schedule, one of these opportunities would be best, because you could do it 2 hours there, 2 hours here, after school, something like that. So that is our community service partner list, and you're going to find somebody, then you're going to email or call them and politely ask if you can do your service learning with them. So back in the info for students, we have directions. So what you guys are going to do after you found somebody is you are going to start filling out the paperwork. So we have 4 types of paperwork that we need you to be able to do. So at the beginning of the semester, you need to sign the student waiver of liability and the service learning agreement form, which is on page 3 and 4. And you need to send that to me. So you can scan it to me. You can put it in my mailbox at on the 3rd floor of the multidisciplinary building on the main campus, or you can attach it on Canvas, however you can get it to me. I just need to make sure that you've signed for liability and that you've also signed the agreement form with the person you're going to be doing your hours with. So you would go to the YMCA, your supervisor would sign it and you would sign it, and then you would get it to me as well. So at the beginning of the semester, after you found somebody that you want to do your service learning with, you need to do the student waiver of liability, and you also need to have the agreement form. Put it in my mailbox on the main campus on the 3rd floor of the multidisciplinary building, or you can scan it and attach it in an email. Those are the best ways to get it to me. At the end of the semester, you're going to do a timesheet. Well, that's throughout the semester. So every time you go to the YMCA or the Lagoon, wherever you are doing your service hours, just have somebody sign off that you've done those hours, because that kind of certifies that you were there and you did it. So you're going to have that in your car throughout the semester as you're doing your hours. And then at the very end, you're also going to have the supervisor, the person who was with you during service hours, who is kind of supervising you, do your evaluation of your student performance. So were you on time? Were you pleasant to be around? Just generally, how was your performance when you were there? So those are at the end. The timesheet is ongoing as you are doing it, and at the very end, you'll do the evaluation of the student performance. So once again, you're going to find somebody, you're going to agree, you're going to politely reach out and see if you can do service learning. Before you start, you're going to sign both of these forms and get them to me. Then you are going to do, at the end of the semester, you're going to do a timesheet and evaluation of your performance. And then the very last thing that I want is I want you to do this reflection. So I have attached a PDF. You can either fill it out by hand and scan it back to me, or you can write it in Word and then submit it on Canvas. So at the very end, all I need from you is to make, in addition to that paperwork, is just that you answered these 3 questions. So it's really, really easy. Once again, it's just 3 questions about your experience doing service learning. So you're going to find somebody, you're going to do the paperwork, you're going to do 15 hours with your timesheet. At the end, they're going to sign it and give you a rate your performance. Then you are going to submit this reflection. So how I grade this, it's a total of 50 points. So 25 points if you give me the paperwork, and then 25 if you give me all of the paperwork, and then 25 points if you fill out this reflection at the very end. So that's how I grade it, is by paperwork and by the reflection. So 25 points for each. Once again, this is not something that you can really procrastinate on and then 2 days before it's due, just bang it out, because you need to find a partner that you can do service learning with. You need to be able to contact them, you need to meet with them, you need to sign your paperwork, you need to do 15 hours, then you need to do a reflection. So it's best that you start earlier in the semester, or at least about probably a quarter of the way in, so that you can get it done. And once again, if you do work on traditional hours or you have a busy schedule, looking for those one-time opportunities on the service partner list is going to be your best bet so that you can complete it. All right, in this video, I have done the research paper, the interview, the advocacy letter, and the service learning. Please ask me if you need any more support, and I will be here for you guys to help you. Just reach out by email, come to the hours that I'm on campus, or reach out and we can find a time that works both of us. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on Canvas.